Lady Boule, and I hope you're having a marvelous day. Thank you for your support. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Thank you for your thumbs up, for your comments, and thank you for sharing the videos. Thank you for all you do to support the channel, and we are commanded to love each other. Today, I'm addressing a statement that was made by this clown right here, Akon. He's at it again. He says that Nigerians are the smartest people in the world. I am not taking issue with that, but what I will say is, if you are the smartest in the world, then you have the greatest responsibility. To whom much is given, much is expected. So Nigeria is in Africa, and everybody knows that Africa is in trouble when it comes to development, when it comes to poverty, when it comes to war, when it comes to tribalism, even colorism is a problem in Africa. So if you are the smartest nation in Africa with the smartest people, then it is incumbent upon you to come up with some solutions to some of the problems in Africa. Nigeria itself is always in crisis. Nigeria is the largest population in Africa. It's not the largest landmass or area in square miles, but in terms of population, it is the most populated country in Africa. So there are a lot of them. So if there are a lot of them, there's bound to be a lot of smart ones. And there are a lot of smart Nigerians. A lot of them end up here in the United States bragging about being smart. But this is not going to be a beat up on Nigerians because of this clown Akon. All he's doing is stoking the fires of division and discord. And the reason he's doing that, I believe, is because he's in trouble himself. He's gone all over the world trying to make everybody think he's this big time businessman, and he's going to have this big Akon city in Senegal, and people say that it's nothing but a sham. The Go Black to Africa guy did a whole video on Akon entitled Akon is a Con, and he's saying that he's a trickster. He's deceiving people with this whole notion about the Akon city and also about the Akon coin, that he was persuading people to invest in this kind of coin. I guess it was something like a Bitcoin, but anyway, the whole thing just turned out to be a scam, according to the Go Black to Africa guy. And so he wanted to inform people that this man is not to be trusted, that he had beat him out of money, that he's beating people out of money, selling a dream that he is not able to fulfill. So it looks like Akon is just a front man for big business and giant companies that want a foot into Africa. So they're using a popular African to use the African people and mislead the African people. And it seems like it worked, because people were talking about that Akon city. People believed that he was an honest broker and that he was serious about building the African infrastructure across the continent. And people believed in him because they wanted to believe in him. And there was no reason not to. And everybody knows that Africa has the resources, and African people, including African Americans, are eagerly awaiting Africa to come into her own. So he's been promoting himself as this very proud African that's concerned about the continent of Africa. But he built his platform in America, taking advantage of Black Americans, and now we seem to be his number one enemy. But he's not really a problem for Black Americans because he's not even relevant in the United States right now. And I think that's a part of his problem. He has lost his influence. He's lost his popularity because he was never that great of a singer in the first place. He was just using musical aids to help him get where he got. So he was never that great of a singer. And so now there's a whole new generation of singers that he's an old guy as far as they're concerned, and they don't want to work with him. So all he can do now is throw out inflammatory statements and try to cause division between Black people, especially Black Americans, the people where he really got his leg up. But now Nigeria is in the spotlight. He has now pit Nigerians against Africa and the African diaspora. Everybody of African descent now has to look at what he said and dissect it and say, okay, well, if Nigerians are the most intelligent, are the smartest people in the world, then Nigerians ought to at least be able to solve Nigeria's problems. But what we see is a lot of running away from Nigeria, claiming corruption or this problem or that problem. I'm told that they don't even have 24/7 electricity in Nigeria. Maybe they have it now, but they didn't have it. If you're the smartest, then you ought to be able to make that happen. You ought to be able to make sure that your countrymen have what everybody else has. Nigeria should be on the level, at least on the level with France, or on the level with a westernized country, a well-developed country, and it's not. At least ought to be able to solve poverty in Nigeria. We still see too much poverty in Nigeria. Too many children scrounging for food in Nigeria. So if you are the smartest, then you ought not have that problem in your country. We still see serious tribalism problems in Nigeria. If you are the smartest, you ought to be able to bring those people together, those tribes together, and say, brethren, come, let us reason together to build a stronger and better Nigeria. If you're the smartest, you ought to be able to do that. If you are the smartest, your people ought not be running all over the world looking for a better life. That life ought to be right there in Nigeria. Black Americans who have been enslaved, and Caribbeans, black people in the Caribbean and Latin America, we ought to be coming to Nigeria just like the Greeks went to Egypt to learn how to rebuild our lives, because you can see the problem. Everybody knows the problem we have here in Black America. But if you are the smartest of the black people, we ought to be coming to you for information. We ought to be coming to you for solutions. And you ought to be there saying, come on in, my brothers. I want to help you. I have the answer. This is where you need to be. That's what you should be doing if you're the smartest. See, this man is a clown as far as I'm concerned. He is a clown, and I hope even Nigerians don't fall for this, because you know damn well if you are the smartest, you ought to be the best. You ought to be the best at everything. Nigeria is not leading the way in Africa. If you are the smartest, you ought to be leading the way. They had a whole genocide and civil war in Rwanda in the 1990s. Hasn't been that long ago. And Rwanda now is on the world stage. Every time they want somebody from Africa to speak, it's the president of Rwanda, Paul Kagame. And now Kigali, Rwanda, is said to be the cleanest city in Africa. Kenya, the Kenyan president, they just got a new president. And he's already on the world stage speaking. Nigeria is not speaking. Nobody's listening to anybody from Nigeria. Whenever we hear from Nigeria in the United States, is Nigerians bragging about something they're competing with black Americans for, which is really silly, because this is not even your country. African descended people should not be listening to people who are sowing discord among African people and African descended people, because that's all this man is doing. That's all he's doing. What Akon is doing is an abomination. He is sowing discord among African people. And he's doing it because he doesn't want anybody to look at him and to look at the fact that that so-called Akon city that he was supposed to be building in Senegal is nothing but a sham. It's nothing but a money grab. That Akon coin that he was supposed to be minting is nothing but a scam. So what he does is like Dr. Umar Johnson. They come up with some kind of a believable sounding scam where they can shake people down for money. Dr. Umar Johnson was going to build a school, and he still says he's going to build that school. But now he's pivoted on to something else. He's talking about racism and white supremacy and Pan-Africanism. And Akon, same thing. He had this big thing that he sold, this big idea, this big dream that he was going to build a Wakanda in Africa. It's going to be called Akon City. And now they're saying that he's taking people's money and won't give back the money. So rather than explain to people what has happened with their investment with him, he has turned around and decided to pit Africans against Africans. 54 countries, they say, in Africa. And Nigerians are smarter than all of the people in those 54 countries, and by extension, all of the African people in the world. I would hope that Nigerians would not fall for that, because it really is divisive and nobody knows why he's doing it except to keep the conversation off of him. That is not a smart thing to do. Nigerians are smart, but there are smart people in all of the African countries and all of the African diaspora, including Black Americans. But more importantly, is an effort to switch the conversation and the spotlight away from him and what he's doing or what he is not doing, and then putting it on Nigerians versus all of the black people in the world. And African Americans are always his target. So something tells me that somewhere between all of that, he's still trying to throw off on Black Americans, because he has a problem with Black Americans for reasons that many of us don't understand. But still, he needs to be held accountable for whatever he has promised that he was going to do in Africa. And African people should not let him squirm out of it. So I will close with this. Black people around the world, on the continent and in the diaspora, we have had enough indoctrination against each other. So I think that if it's one thing that black people have had all over the world, is indoctrination against ourselves. That's what the African lady said when she said when the Europeans came, they took everything, including our common sense. So it's time for us to regain that back and not use tactics designed by others to use on us, to use against each other. So I think that we should ignore people like Akon and anybody else who makes these divisive statements, because we've already had enough indoctrination against each other. The smartest people in the world might be in Africa, but they're not all in Nigeria. Let's put it that way. So it's spread out. It's spread out. One country does not have all of the smartest people, because if they did, it would be reflected in more places than in Akon's head. Okay, y'all, thank you for listening. Let me know what you think about the video. Subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up, leave a comment, share the video, and as always, have a great day.